Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, I want to go ahead and do some market technicals for you on both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. As you guys know, over the last few weeks, we've seen a very nice push, but we started to approach a very important resistance level. We've been talking about this resistance level if you tune in on the pre-market live streams, and over the last 2 days, we have had a very hard time to get over this key level. Yesterday, we started to see the resistance set in, starting to make lower highs and lower lows. Ended the day yesterday on a pretty weak move, and then today we just started to see that continuation. We never quite got over pre-market highs and just started to slip towards end of day. So this entire move, this entire weakness, this stall that we are seeing right now in the market can be 100% explained through technical analysis. And I want to show you guys that today so that you get a better understanding of what the market is doing, why we're seeing some weakness here, what level do you need to be watching here on the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. The technicals explain it all. It should be totally expected here after a very big move over the last few weeks. I think the market is taking a little bit of a breath off this very hard resistance level that I'm going to go ahead and break down for you guys today. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's get a better understanding of what this market is doing. So hopefully that will help you in your trading in the upcoming weeks. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to come hang out in the pre-market live streams where we go over this analysis every single morning starting at 8 a.m. All right, guys, so we're going to start this video off with the NASDAQ. We'll go and start on the daily charts, break them down to the hourly and 30-minute, get a good idea of what the both NASDAQ and S&P 500 are doing right now. So on your screen, this is the daily chart, and we can see over the last 2 weeks, the NASDAQ has pushed just about 18%. Now, we all know an 18% push on the overall market is pretty extraordinary. Not something that you see very often, and not something that you will not expect pullbacks to come along the way, right? An 18% push on the market, you should always warrant and expect pullbacks. So right now, the pullback makes a lot of sense in my opinion. 2% to the downside over the last 2 days after an 18% push is quite expected in my opinion, right? I think we can all agree on that. So we got that push off 13,000. That was the level. This was a previous support. We got our 18% push off 13,000 on the NASDAQ. Now, on this run, where has the NASDAQ pushed into? If we zoom into this daily chart, we can see that the NASDAQ has pushed into both a previous resistance here at 15,250. This is a resistance level from back on February 2nd. And it has also pushed into both the 100 and 200 SMA on the daily chart. That is the green and red line that you guys are looking at right there on your chart. So coming into the week, when we saw that 100 and 200 SMA starting to sort of group up here around 15,250, which is also a previous resistance level, that was sort of my sign, and that's why I've been sort of explaining this on the live stream, saying, hey, watch out for this level. This could be a level that we have a little bit of trouble over. We started to see some reaction to this level on Wednesday. We saw more reaction to it today. So we started to definitely see the market react to this very tough resistance level, and this right here explains exactly why you're starting to get a little bit of weakness. You got some weakness here off a really tough level. The market is not going to just push right through something like this with the 100 SMA there and a very serious previous resistance there around 15,250. So the pullback here, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense here on the daily chart. Previous resistance, big time moving averages. You came right into it after pushing 18%, and a 2% pullback, I think, is something that is quite expected. Now, if we break this down a little bit more, we'll see why the move was so explosive end of day today. That can be explained quite easily as well. So now I want to go ahead and jump into the 30-minute chart and then go ahead and get a little bit more time. So if we look at this, right, just looking at the hourly chart, we can see this once again. We can clearly see that resistance that's sort of set in here on the hourly. Previous resistance tapped right there around 15,250 on the NASDAQ, and we tapped that level basically to the dollar amount, and that is where we started to stall. If we drop down just a little bit more and look at where that stall actually came in, this was actually on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Tuesday, we can clearly see that resistance that started to come in. Tuesday intraday, we hit that 15,250, rejected it, tried again, rejected it, and started to make, since that Tuesday, started to make lower highs. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high this morning in the pre-market. And then today we just see that momentum start to slip. Right after tapping that technical level, 15,250, we have not seen a higher high on the shorter term time frames. So the momentum here is clearly slipping, right? You can start to feel that momentum. If you can get a feel for momentum in the market, this right here, you can start to feel like it's slowing down just a little bit after a very big 18% push. So that's sort of in depth what happened here on the shorter term time frames on the 5-minute chart. You can clearly see where that momentum has started to lose some steam. So breaking this now down to the 30-minute chart, I want to go ahead and share with you guys why the late day action today was so aggressive to the downside, and there's a reason for it here on the chart. So 30-minute chart, guys, on the NASDAQ, we were sort of watching this previous consolidation, and I was looking to see if it would hold today. I was seeing that it was starting to consolidate. You guys can see if we break this down to the 5 today, you can see we were trying our best to hold on to this level all day today. We really attempted to hold this level around 14,960, 15,000. We bounced off it 3 times intraday, but late day, you can see that flush. We flushed under a key level. Now, when you get a flush under a very key level like that, there's always going to be a very harsh reaction. That is normal, right? It's normal to see that because you have a lot of people stacking up orders here, looking to see if they can bounce this thing higher, or you have short sellers looking to attack it under that key level. And when you get a flush like that, when you start to break a major level here, it's clear to see that you are going to see a pretty aggressive flush. If I zoom in here, you can see this was the previous level, and this is when we flushed through it today. Now, on top of that, what I want to show you guys is over here on Monday, you can see how vertical this move was before we started to consolidate. Now, if you have a vertical move to the upside, you should expect a just as harsh vertical move to the downside if you start to get into that level, right? Think about this as just no sellers or no buyers stacking up in this area here. In this area at this consolidation, you have a lot of buyers stacked up and you have some consolidation and potentially some support. If you get into this area where there was nothing, it was just a vertical move, it's going to be quick back to the downside. So that move end of day today can be explained by looking at both this key level that flushed under, that's a very key level that we wanted to see hold, and then also the reaction prior was vertical, and you should expect a equal reaction to the downside, right? An equal reaction on the upside, you should expect an equal reaction to the downside here when you have such a vertical move back there on Monday. So to sort of recap the NASDAQ here, guys, momentum is slowing. We hit a very key level here on the daily chart, right there at the 100 SMA, and a major key previous resistance. If we go to the 4-hour, we can see that as well. I'll go ahead and show you guys right here. 4-hour chart, you're going to see that resistance that's set in right there around 15,250. The momentum is slowing. And today, at end of day, we flushed under a key level here, right under this previous consolidation of around 15,000. So we got that harsh flush to the downside, and we saw a very quick move on Monday, which we should expect a similar reaction to the downside. So what should we expect moving forward? If we cannot continue to if we can't change this trend and make higher highs and higher lows, we should expect this consolidation to the downside to continue. We should expect this momentum to the downside to continue off this key level. The only way you see this turn bullish is if you start to make higher highs and higher lows, right? The trend in the short term trend here on the NASDAQ has changed to be a little bit bearish here after rejecting off a major level. So let's keep an eye on this. If you're trading, if you're analyzing the market, if you're in the market, you want to be aware of this technical level here on the NASDAQ, which is getting very difficult to get over. Just wanted to share that with you guys, explain to you how the technicals are sort of setting up here, lower lows and lower highs since the tap of resistance, and we're starting to lose some steam. The next level that I want to watch out for is right here, guys, right around this 14,680, 14,700. That is a previous resistance that turned into support, and that level also dates back. If we go to the 90-day 1 hour, we can see that that level at 14,680 also dates back to some of this previous resistance here. So previous resistance here, and this turned into support in the short-term trend. So for me, I think the market may want to come back to this 14,680, 14,700 level, right around here. That would be my next target to see if we pull back to that level. That's the NASDAQ. Hope that makes sense. Big technical level, we rejected off of it, and we're seeing momentum start to slip away. Next, let's go ahead and look at the S&P 500. All right, guys, here's the S&P 500, and we can see it's a very similar chart. 4,584, 4,584. That was a previous double top resistance back in early February. You can see that that is where we rejected previously, and we went ahead and were able to get above that this week. If we zoom into this week, we can see, yes, we were able to get above it. We tried to hold it yesterday, and when we failed it today, that is obviously why the flush point went ahead and took place. If we zoom in here on the 5-minute chart, we can see that over the last 2 days, we broke out of it, we held and bounced off. Since that tap of resistance, we have made lower highs and lower lows. We tried to hold it yesterday. You can see the bounce off of it yesterday, right in this little demand zone, bounced off, continued to just make lower highs and lower lows, no signs of higher highs and higher lows. And when we broke that level today, when we went ahead and started to slip under that level today, we can see the flush that went ahead and happened. If we go ahead and look at this level right here, which is very similar to the NASDAQ, we can see, right? Remember we talked about if you have a quick move to the upside, you should expect a quick move to the downside. Well, it's the exact same thing here on the ES, guys. You can see that we had a consolidation that tried to hold today, and before that consolidation, we had a vertical move to the upside. I mean, this is literally 1.5% over like 2 hours on the S&P 500. That's a monster move on the S&P 500. And when you get back in that level, you should expect an equal move to the downside. Huge push to the upside. You should expect the exact same type of move to the downside. And that explains why this move late day today was so aggressive, because you just really don't have much support in that area if you zoom out and look at this chart. So we can see very similar as the NASDAQ. We tapped resistance. We started to make lower lows and lower highs. We broke below a flush point today, and that is why you got such an aggressive sell-off here on the market. You wanted to see this hold this 45.80. Why is that? Is because if you go to the 4-hour chart, this was a previous resistance point right here, guys, from back on February. This was a previous resistance point that you would have wanted to see the S&P hold. However, when it got under it, and it flushed under consolidation, you get the big flush to the downside, and that is exactly why you saw this move happen today. Is this a market-breaking move? I don't think so. You moved up on the S&P 500 just about 12%, and since then you've pulled back 2%. So we're seeing the momentum slow. It's something we all should be aware of. That's why I'm making this video. The NASDAQ and the ES has both hit some very difficult levels. You can see here on the NASDAQ, big time resistance, broke under that consolidation, and on the ES, very similar, broke under that flush point, and we're getting that move to the downside. There should be some opportunity to the downside if this momentum continues, but I wanted to make sure that everyone that watches my channel gets a good understanding of the technicals. I think a lot of people enjoy watching the technicals on this channel, so chart out those levels, make sure you're aware of them. On the ES, it's around 45.80, previous double top resistance. That's where we got a flush under. And on the NASDAQ, it's that 15,250 where we went ahead and rejected again here. So guys, I hope that this video gives you some idea of what's going on in the market right now. A little bit of a slowdown after hitting a very large resistance level on both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Today, we broke under some important flush points, and that is why the aggressive move happened late day. We'll see what happens moving forward, but after an 18% push on the NASDAQ and a 12% push on the ES, I think it is totally normal to see 2% pullbacks over the last 2 days. We'll see how this week wraps up, but overall, I want everyone to stay safe out there. I want you to make sure you are aware of these technicals. Make sure you never have too much risk on your portfolio, and always expect there to be resistance and some pullbacks after a monster move like we saw last week. Stay safe, guys. Trade safe. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.